Camellia, Camellia, Camellia. You thought you'd get away with it, didn't you? You thought that I wouldn't notice. Well, I haven't slept in 12 hours and I notice everything. Including your performance at the Champions League final, which for lack of a better word was cack. I'm sorry you had to hear that from me, someone you respect so highly, but I felt it's important that you know the truth. And I feel like the rest of the world who aren't sports fans also missed out on this little tidbit. Hiya, I'm Dino, and I'm a casual football fan. What this means is I won't follow the games religiously, but I'll chime my 2 cents in every single time I think it's fit. And I'll similarly discuss the inner workings of a match or two, if I've drank a little bit enough and I feel confident enough that you're not just gonna obliterate me. So for all of you non-sport fans, or non-casuals like me, you probably missed out on one of the most boring games of the past century. Liverpool and Real Madrid, 2 of the biggest clubs in the world, make it through the tournament of the Champions League and face each other in France. Everyone's hyped. It's expected to be a brilliant game. It wasn't. It was an absolute snoozer. But the hope is there. People fly in from all around Europe to see these 2 top-level clubs compete. The city of Paris is alive with the electricity, the energy of fans, all queuing outside of the stadium ready to line in. And that's where our story begins. Because it didn't turn out like any other game did. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of drama to be had.
The UK government is calling on UEFA to investigate scenes at the Champions League final in Paris on Saturday after police used tear gas and pepper spray on Liverpool fans trying to get in. Although many turned up without tickets, those who did still found it difficult to get into the stadium.
Apparently there was a bunch of tickets in the works that weren't necessarily legitimate. And a bunch of people who thought that they had legitimate tickets turns out they had fakes. And those with legitimate tickets were struggling to get in because of the overcrowding. This led to a very, very strong response by the French. Say your stupid World War II jokes. And a bunch of children were pepper sprayed in the face as a result, thus delaying the game by a half hour. Now keep in mind, I was watching this all live. Kickoff was already set at 9 o'clock my time, which mind you is very late, seeing as most matches run between an hour and a half to 2 hours depending on penalties, injury time, you get it. But that's fine, I was all set up, I had my beer, I had my chips, ready to go. I just went on my phone and waited. Finally, the time came. The mess had been sorted, everybody had piled in, and we were all ready to sing our anthems and then crack on. Or were we? At least that was the impression I had, and that was the impression that every other football fan had. But instead, we got treated to a performance by Discount Shakira. That I want to say it was probably like maybe top 10 minutes, but felt like a lifetime, especially considering the delays. And that should be the end of it. That should be our whole story. Some fans got pepper sprayed, the next iteration of generic pop singers did their performance, and we all moved on happily ever after. But it didn't quite play out that way, did it? It just keeps getting wilder. Well, Mrs. Cabello was performing her heavily rehearsed Super Bowl ad. The Liverpool fans pretty much told her, and started chanting one of their team's anthems. I mean, it's to be expected. They've been drinking all day. They're on a lads trip, and they're excited. Now tell me, for the love of God, why would you want to perform in front of a bunch of rowdy football fans after they've been drinking all day and their game's been delayed? You wouldn't. And as any person knows, football does not have musical performances at the start of the game unless it's the World Cup. Do you think Dave from Eastern Yorkshire gives a wet fart about a 20-year-old Cuban woman singing Havana? Well, he would if it was his missus. Way. No, he doesn't. He's come to see his team play. He's singing his team's songs. He's with his boys, and they're just here to see some fucking footy. So they're singing very loud, and I mean incredibly loud. Apparently, the Liverpool fans were singing so loud and so proudly, it was quite literally impossible to hear the performance going on in the pitch, as the crew of dancers and Cabello were just completely drowned out with the wails of the Red Army. That's Manchester, but you get my metaphor. And thus, this is where the final straw broke. Because somehow, despite being Cuban, Camila Cabello is not familiar with football fans at all, and took to Twitter to complain about the fact that the fans were singing so loudly and disrupting her performance that she worked ever so hard on. Stating in her now deleted tweet, playing back our performance, and I can't believe people were singing their team's anthem so loud during our performance. Like, my team and I worked tirelessly for so long to bring the right vibes and give a good show. First, saying vibes is ew, cringe, shut up. As for the rest of the tweet, just throw it away. My love, come have a seat over here for us, please. Now, I know you worked really hard on this performance, but sometimes, even when you're a big girl, things don't always go your way. And sometimes, my love, it doesn't hurt to hold your back. Are you cooked? Why is it impossible for people these days to take an L, move on? You can't win every crowd, and you especially don't want to piss off every crowd. I know none of this is your fault, you were hired by UEFA. But the part where you sat down on Twitter and wrote this out, that is your fault. And the part where you processed this in your head, like this was going to be a banger and made sense, I think you've just been a little bit too poisoned by the American way of doing things. Because unfortunately, despite what you're taught working over there, when the rest of the world pays for an event, they expect to show up for an event and enjoy the event. That event being football. Not American handball, football. But I wish you well all the same. But on God, you need to go... Let me do a quick Google. Oh, yeah. You need to go visit your dad, Alejandro Cabello, and sit down with him for a bit. Because with a name like that, that man watches football. And I think you need to learn a little bit about it. Legally, you have to subscribe, or I'll seek Dave and his mates on you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.